It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Yes, we made it to another, man, we made it through a week. Wow, the first full week in January 2021. Whew, my God. I hope this is not a prelude for what the rest of 2021 is going to be like. No, we're not even going to put that out in the universe. We're going to name and claim positivity. How you doing, everybody? My name is Geno Jones. I'm Geno. That's me. It's the Geno Jones Daily Variety Show. Glad to have you. Thank you. Glad you could join me. For everybody that is watching me live, I do this show live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're in the Carolinas, I'm here in Charleston, South Carolina, repping the Carolinas, or New York City, 5:30 in Chicago, or if you're in Houston, 5:30, you're out in Los Angeles or Seattle, 3:30 p.m. Well, every Friday I do a week in review show, and boy, this has been one hell of a week. So we have 8 days. We are 8 days into the new year, 2021. Now, there are technically at least 12 days until the clear and present danger. Public enemy number one, the mad wannabe king, has to get his ass out of here at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. However, I want to start off the show tonight with a bold prediction. Now, I want you to listen to me closely. I want you to put down, like if you're drinking out of a glass, if you're drinking something, or you're smoking something, or you got something in your hands, or if you're standing, you might want to sit down for this one, because this bold prediction might knock you off your feet. But I'm going to make it. Even if I'm wrong, I'm going to make it. Because I felt this last night after my show. Actually, I wrote it down. I still have my notes here. So I was actually going to make this bold prediction yesterday. So I'm going to do it tonight, all right? Like I said, there's at least technically 12 days until the man wannabe king's ass is out of here. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will officially be sworn in. But my bold prediction for tonight, January 8th, 2021, is that the 25th Amendment will be invoked. Yes, the 25th Amendment will be invoked, and the man wannabe king, the man I call Orange Hitler, 45, will be removed from his office. Now, in case you don't know, you're wondering, okay, Geno, what is this? I've heard a lot about this 25th Amendment. And what does that mean? And how can that get 45 out of the White House? How can the 25th Amendment remove him, or how can that cause him to be removed as the president? Well, let me explain it to you. I'm going to keep it real simple. So the 25th Amendment basically works like this. It allows whoever the sitting vice president is, it allows the vice president and members of the president's cabinet. Like, you work on a job, you have department heads. So the cabinet, they're basically department heads. Like the head of transportation, the head of education, the head of defense, the head of the State Department, department heads. They call them secretary. The Secretary of Defense, Defense Secretary, the Secretary of Education, the Treasury Secretary. You hear those terms. They're just department heads, right? So the Vice President and the remaining members of the cabinet, because a lot of these folks, they've really just kind of taken the punk-ass coward chicken route out, and instead of doing the right thing and basically coming together and say, look, all right, we need to invoke the 25th Amendment and get his ass out of here, they have handed in their resignations. Like, let's see here, what Mitch McConnell He's one of the senators from Kentucky. Well, his wife is Elaine Chao. She was in the Trump in 45's cabinet. She handed in her resignation. The Secretary of Education, how this heifer ever got that job, Betsy DeVos, because she did everything she could to completely destroy and ruin. Yes, she really tried to destroy and ruin public education. So Betsy DeVos, now she handed in her resignation. But here's the bottom line. So this is how the 25th Amendment works. You get the vice president, you get the remaining department heads or those in the cabinet, and they can formally, basically, like draft, write a draft, like a letter, a formal letter, formal declaration, and say, okay, listen, we must invoke the 25th Amendment. Now, what happened and why can you do that? So shortly after John F. Kennedy was assassinated in the 60s, the Congress said we need to come up with an amendment. So we need to know who's in charge. If the president, if he's assassinated, or if he gets sick, or all of a sudden he has a heart attack, or if he's shot like Ronald Reagan was, somebody's got to be able to be in charge. So the 25th Amendment allows the vice president to get together with the department heads or the cabinet and say, listen, this person, the president, is unable to fulfill his or her duties. So to save the country, you got to take over, dude. Or if in this case, well, going forward, it would be Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, whoever the vice president is, right? And that's basically how the 25th Amendment works. Well, that's one way it works, actually, that the vice president and the cabinet or department heads come together and say, we have to invoke the 25th Amendment because your ass is crazy. You don't have the mental capacity. You are completely mentally and emotionally unstable, incapacitated, not able. Basically, you are unable to fulfill your duties as the president, and for the greater good of the country and the sake of national defense, that we got to get your ass out of here. That's basically the 25th Amendment. Now, technically, legally, constitutionally, the president can appeal. But then what happens is the vice president and the department heads, the cabinet, will say, listen, your ass is unable to do the job. All right, you're crazy. You done lost your mind. And we should have did this 4 years ago. But the bottom line is we are invoking the 25th Amendment. So if the president appeals that, but the vice president and the cabinet, the department heads still say, no, we are going to invoke the 25th Amendment. Then what happens? So basically, the vice president and the cabinet, the department heads will go to Congress, to the House of Representatives and the Senate to state their case. Then it will be up to Congress to say, okay, yes, you can invoke the 25th Amendment. It's okay. He is crazy. Get him out of here. Or they can say, okay, he's not crazy. Congress can say, no, you can't invoke the 25th Amendment. We are going to agree with the president and let him or her stay on. However, there's another way to invoke the 25th Amendment. Now, Congress, technically, Congress was to have, when this 25th Amendment was first created in the mid-60s, Congress was supposed to create a commission, like a committee of, I guess, people in Congress, senators and people in the House of Representatives. They were supposed to create a committee that basically would do the same thing that the vice president and the president's cabinet or department heads can do. So in theory, Congress right now could form that committee that they have never formally done, because we've never been in this situation, because Richard Nixon they wanted to invoke the 25th Amendment when Nixon's ass went crazy, but the Republicans at that time were able to go to the White House and tell Tricky Dick, like, yo, partner, You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. And if you don't, we are going to impeach you. The House of Representatives, they impeach. So impeachment is like a charge. Just imagine if you get arrested, okay, you get charged with a crime, but you're not convicted. So the impeachment is you catch a charge, and the Senate is the trial. So you caught a charge, but have you been convicted? Are you guilty? The Senate, they're the ones that decide guilt or innocence. And then they also can determine you can be impeached, disqualified, and not allowed. So impeachment and disqualification is like, so impeachment is like two parts. We impeach you and we disqualify you. That means not only do we remove you from office, we disqualify you from ever running for public office again. So that means 45, you can't come back in 2024 and run for anything, even dog catcher. Now, the Congress can invoke the 25th Amendment. Now, all they have to do is form this committee that Congress has never done, because we've never been in this situation, but they can actually form this committee of senators and House of Representative members and basically do the same thing that the vice president and the president's cabinet or department heads can do. Just say, listen, you know what? We are invoking the 25th Amendment because this dude, he is unfit to serve. There's something wrong with him. He's crazy as a Betsy bug, as my grandmother used to say. I don't know what the heck a Betsy bug is. I never saw one. But maybe, maybe your grandparents were old school like mine, or maybe your mom was old school, or your dad. Ask them, what is a Betsy bug? I know my mother's watching. She'll tell me what a Betsy bug is when I talk to her after the show. But just say, he's crazy as a Betsy bug. Nutty, he's nuttier than a fruitcake. You got to go. We've decided that you are unfit to serve as the president and commander in chief. You got to go. Something wrong with you. You are clear and present danger. You are a threat to national security. And after Wednesday, when this president basically he's been inciting basically an insurrection for about 2.5, 3 years. But he took it to another level after the election. And then since December, he's been openly telling, I need you to come. He tweeted, come to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. All right. We got to fight because they're stealing the election. Stop the steal. Stop the steal of the election. And I want you to, it's going to be, it's just, I want you to just basically commit violence. I want you to come and he says a lot of crazy things, but basically he said, I want you to come and just bring a lot of negative energy. So on Wednesday, there was a rally of all these white supremacists and QAnon. QAnon it's like a crazy cult. So Google QAnon. I'm not going to go into it, but it's just really a really crazy racist cult. Not to mention all the other white nationalists and the Boogaloo Boys and the Proud Boys and this motley crew of racists and bigots and kooks. Dangerous, but they're dangerous. And so 45 gets in front of them right there at the Lincoln Mall for an hour and says, listen, I want you to we're going to march down this street and we're going to go to the Capitol and we're going to encourage those Republicans who are scared to have some backbone, and we're going to fight. I want you to fight. He said it on Twitter. He said then, I want you to fight to stop the steal of this election. I want you to fight because they're trying to take this election from you and me. That's what this dude said. Literally, right before you had thousands of people storm the Capitol, literally storm the Capitol, kick down doors, break out windows, climb through the windows, scaling the walls like Spider-Man, went in. As a matter of fact, 4 people died. 5 people died, including a U.S. Capitol police officer. So in the U.S. Capitol, the security is U.S. Capitol Police, because the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. is a city and it's a district. It's not a state. So Washington, D.C. is not allowed to have their local D.C. Metro police officers patrol or protect any federal building. It is not allowed. It's constitutionally not allowed. So by law, that no Metro D.C. police officer can patrol or protect any federal building without permission from the federal government, which explains a lot. So you have the U.S. Capitol Police, which it wasn't enough. Sounds like an inside job. And the National Guard that the mayor of D.C. had basically put on guard. They were guarding the city property. They were guarding the streets around the Capitol, but they were not allowed to do anything in terms of protecting the U.S. Capitol, because by law, that's not their jurisdiction. It's not their jurisdiction. So they're not allowed to protect the members of Congress or the U.S. Capitol. That's why they have U.S. Capitol Police. Who's in charge of the U.S. Capitol Police? Well, start with 45, of course, and the head of Homeland Security, a guy named Chad Wolf. Where was Chad Wolf? Also, the Secretary of Defense. Where was the Secretary of Defense? Why didn't the Secretary of Defense say, looks like we might have a problem? Why? Ask yourself, why weren't there more U.S. Capitol Police? You had the governor of Maryland on the phone with a member of Congress, U.S. Representative from Maryland, Steny Hoyer. Steny Hoyer is on the floor, hiding, scared for his life, on the phone with the governor of Maryland, Governor Hogan. And Steny Hoyer is saying, yo, man, these dudes are crazy. They are trying to kick down like the doors of the House of the House chambers. And they're trying to kick down the doors of the Senate chamber. While we are conducting business, they were there to basically to certify all the votes for President-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It was just a mere formality. They couldn't change the votes. It was just to certify, to say, hey, listen, we got all the votes in. Yes, Joe Biden, President-elect Kamala Harris. Like I said last night, basically, it's like I'm on the Oscars, the Academy Awards, or the Soul Train Music Awards. I'm a presenter. All they were presenters at an award show. You got one job, and your only job was when they give you this envelope, the state of California and their 55 electoral college votes select Joe Biden as president of the United States. The winner of all of our 55 electoral college votes is President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Read the envelope, get your ass off the stage. That's it. That was their only job. But these terrorists, these domestic because calling them thugs that's too nice. We just call it what it is. These were domestic terrorists. Just like you hear about Islamic terrorists, Muslim terrorists, you hear about Al-Qaeda or ISIS. This was America's homegrown version of ISIS. White nationalists, white supremacist versions of ISIS and Al-Qaeda that literally stormed the Capitol. The last time the U.S. Capitol was attacked like that was by the British Army in 1814. So we're talking about 207 years since that happened. So Steny Hoyer, to finish that story, Steny Hoyer, one of the representatives, House representatives from Maryland, is on the phone with the Governor Hogan of Maryland, saying, man, can you please send the Maryland National Guard down here? Because these folks are trying to kill us. Governor Hogan says, I'm on my way immediately. I'll send them down. Governor Hogan calls the Maryland National Guard to dispatch the Maryland National Guard to go down only not that many miles, probably just a few miles, because the whole D.C. area is surrounded by Maryland and Virginia. No. So somebody in the federal government, I don't know, was it the defense secretary? Was it the head of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf? Nobody's talking. But someone in the federal government said, no, you cannot send the Maryland National Guard down to the Capitol. What? Steny Hoyer is like, hey, dude, can you hurry up before they kill us? We need some help. Can you send the Maryland National Guard down? Governor Hogan says, every time I send them down there, they call me back and say, I'm not authorized. So someone in the federal government told Governor Hogan that he was not authorized to send his National Guards. Because the way the National Guard works, the governor of each state is in charge of the National Guards in their state. So Governor Hogan is in charge of all the National Guards there in his state. And if another state says, let's just say, if Virginia says, hey, we need some help, could you please send your National Guard to Virginia to help our National Guard? The governor can say yes or no, because he's in control of the National Guard in his state. So Governor Hogan is like, please go. Governor Hogan, no, this is the Maryland National Guard. Someone in the federal government said that you're not authorized to dispatch us to go down and to help out the situation in the U.S. Capitol, with the insurrection and the siege on the Capitol. Then eventually, almost around an hour later, all of a sudden, the Secretary of the Army calls Governor Hogan and says, hey, can you send a National Guard down to the U.S. Capitol, because there's an insurrection going on. So that alone was instigated by your boy 45, who spoke for an hour before these people left. And he said, and I'll go with you. We got to go down to the Capitol and we've got to fight. And we've got to stop them from stealing the election. So I need you to fight. And I need you to go in there and go in there and give those Republicans who are not with me, give them some spine and backbone. This man has been inciting violence since before he was elected, when he would tell people at rallies, if you see somebody and you don't like the way they look, or if they don't want to support me, or if they have on a Black Lives Matter shirt or a sign, just punch them in the face and I'll pay your bail, which he was never going to pay their bail. He has been inciting violence and racial violence since before he was elected. And he's been doing it when you had the neo-Nazis that went to Charlottesville, Virginia, and he called them fine people. And he told the Proud Boys in 2020, literally in a presidential debate, to stand down and stand by. Stand by, stand down and stand by. Stand down and stand by for what? Well, now we know what the what was. The what was what we witnessed on Wednesday, January 6th, when you had domestic terrorists by the thousands storm the Capitol, killed a U.S. Capitol police officer. And literally, you had one of these people that had a semi-automatic weapon, and guns are banned. The city of Washington, D.C., the district, you are not allowed to carry a gun unless you have to have a special permit. It's kind of like the city of Chicago. You just can't walk around. It's not an open carry. It's not a concealed carry, which means you're not allowed to either openly carry a gun or to carry one, in a concealed manner, period. You're not supposed to. You just can't come from Florida or South Carolina or North Carolina or Texas because, you are legally allowed because you have a permit and a license to carry a gun in those states. Don't matter. You can't come to D.C. with that gun. It's illegal. But somebody did it. Not to mention, this person had like 11 pipe bombs. They found a pipe bomb in or near the Capitol. They found a pipe bomb in or near the Democratic headquarters and the Republican headquarters in Washington, D.C. You had men walking around with T-shirts that said Civil War with the date January 6, 2021, which is a whole nother story because how did not the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, they knew about this. You didn't have the intelligence. These people were wide open. These people were live streaming. They were having live video chats. They were doing Zoom meetings. They were on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, streaming live, planning, talking about we are going to start a new civil war. We are going to D.C. They were openly on video, on live streams. Bring your guns, bring your weapons. We're going to take the government back. We're going to start a second civil war. This is not my opinion. This is fact. You can, these social media companies by now have probably taken a lot of these videos down, but you can probably still find it somewhere. As a matter of fact, shout out to Twitter and Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, because I sent him a tweet today. I'm like, yo, Jack, dude, what are we doing here? Can you do the right thing? Don't be a coward. Do the right thing. Suspend Orange Hitler, suspend 45's Twitter account permanently. He must have read it. Guess what? I just saw right before I started the show, Twitter has suspended 45's account permanently. Oh, I got to say that again. Yes, Twitter has suspended 45's Twitter account permanently. Now, Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook and Instagram, he suspended about a day or two ago, he suspended 45's Facebook and Instagram account indefinitely for at least 2 weeks. Twitter was a little slow. I guess people literally, if you go to my Twitter feed, you'll see Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, at Jack. You can still tweet him yourself. I don't know. I didn't know I had that kind of pull. I sure did. You'll see it. I said, yo, dude, Jack, don't be a coward, man. Come on, do the right thing and don't be a coward. Suspend 45's Twitter account permanently. What you afraid of? You own Twitter. It's your platform. Do what you want to do. Shout out to Jack Dorsey. You did the right thing. Like Spike Lee said, do the right thing. He did it. He suspended his Twitter account permanently. So once again, in case you're just tuning in, my bold prediction is the 25th Amendment will be invoked by Monday, this coming Monday, June 11th. Because I was going to try to kind of take the easy and say it'll be invoked within 7 days. But no, I'm going out there. I don't care if I'm wrong, but because I had the feeling last night, and I was supposed to give you this bold prediction last night, but I didn't. I said, damn it, I'm doing it tonight. I'm putting it out there. Put it out into the universe. Speak it into existence. Name it and claim it. That the 25th Amendment will be invoked by next Monday, January 11th, either by the Vice President and the President's Cabinet, i.e. the President's department heads, or by Congress. Because yes, the Congress, the U.S. Congress, the House, and even a lot of these Republicans in the Congress, in the House of Representatives, even though it's still a significant number, they are still enabling. But now that means you have enabled insurrection against your own government. Your life, Senator Ted Cruz, here in the state of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, you've been the biggest enabler. You've been so busy with your nose up his behind, chasing him around like a little lap dog so you can say, oh, I've been golfing with the president. And then all of a sudden, then Wednesday night, you've seen the error of your ways. People had to die. As a matter of fact, speaking of people dying, 4,110 people died yesterday from COVID-19. 4,110 Americans died from COVID-19. Thursday, yesterday, 4,110 families lost somebody that they loved dearly because of COVID-19. Nearly 270,000 people with new infections was reported on Thursday, yesterday. Nearly 370,000 Americans have died from COVID-19 since last March. Nearly 370,000 Americans have died from COVID-19 since last March. Nearly 370,000 families, they have a hole in their soul. They have a hole in their heart. Spiritually and emotionally, their insides has been carved out like someone took a chisel and carved out part of their soul because they lost someone that meant so much to them. A mother, a father, a grandmother, a grandfather, a wife, a husband. You had husbands and wives that have died together in the same room, some holding hands. You've had mothers and sons. You've had mothers and daughters. You've had fathers and sons and fathers and daughters that have died in the same hospital. You've had parents that have died in the same hospital that their sons and daughters and grandchildren worked in. Some people, they were the doctors or nurses that treated their own mother or father and couldn't save their life right there in the hospital that they work in. So to the Lindsey Grahams and the Ted Cruz and the Josh Hawleys, Josh Hawley, Senator in Missouri, Senator Ron Johnson in Wisconsin, Senator Kennedy in Louisiana. So many of you enablers, not to mention there's so many of you in the House of Representatives. You have emboldened, you have co-signed, you have blood on your hands because you have championed, you have repeated the big lie after big lie after big lie. You have energized and emboldened like somebody ran an IV of speed, heroin, Red Bull, and more energy drinks. You energize this white nationalist, white supremacist ideology, and you did it for political reasons because you knew that racism, it sells. Racism is big business, and you can use fear and racism and bigotry and sexism and misogyny to advance your political career. And you all have done that. You've looked the other way and you've lied about, and you've supported the big lie about, oh, COVID-19 was a Democratic hoax, or that it was a hoax and it wasn't that serious. And that people shouldn't wear masks and you can't take people's freedom. They have this is America. You're free not to wear a mask. You can't take away our freedom. That's communism. No, that's foolishness. What you said and what you did was foolishness. And people have died. You've even had people in the Congress who bought into that foolishness who have died because of it, because they didn't want to wear masks, and because they went to these incredibly large giant super spreader COVID-19 events, like that insurrection, that riot. You know what insurrection is, for those who don't know? It is a violent uprising against the government. What you saw Wednesday was a perfect example of white privilege at its worst. You saw thousands, primarily white men, storm the U.S. Capitol and engage in an act of insurrection, a violent overthrow of the government, a seditious act. Sedition, I'll save you, you don't have to Google it. Sedition is when your conduct, your words and your actions or behavior, when it contributes, basically, when it incites violence. So when your words and when your actions incite violence against the government, that is called sedition. That is a seditious act led by 45. He was the chief sedition officer in charge. He led the seditious behavior. He was the number one person committing acts of sedition. Yes, he was. And many of the names that I just mentioned, you all were accomplices. It's like being an accomplice in a murder. If it's four of us in a car, even if you say, hey man, you need a ride home, Geno, come jump in the car. I jump in the car. Now, I don't know where you all are coming from. Then all of a sudden the cops pull us over. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Hands up. But if they're black, they probably wouldn't say hands up. They'd have just shot us all and killed us. But in case they wind up not shooting and killing us, just arresting us. 4 people, including myself. Now, all of a sudden, I'm walking home and say, hey man, we'll take you home, jump in the car. Police pull us over. Wait a minute. The driver just killed somebody. But you know what happens? The driver gets charged with murder. But guess what? I'm an accomplice. The other people, the other 3 people in the car, including myself, we are accomplices to a murder. Guess what? We get charged with murder. I didn't pull the trigger. Hell, I didn't know what happened. I just got in the car. I didn't know. They said, you want to ride home? I said, okay. I jumped in the car. I had no idea they had just murdered somebody. The law says, too bad. Your ignorance doesn't make you innocent. That's no excuse. You were still guilty because you were in the car with 4 people who just murdered somebody. So all these politicians who engaged in the big lie and who encouraged people not to wear masks and told them not to wear masks and lied about COVID-19 like 45 did, 370,000 dead Americans, the blood of all those dead Americans, not to mention, unfortunately, the ones yet to die. That blood is on your hands. 45. Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Senator Kennedy in Louisiana. There was a whole bunch, if I could go on and on and on and on. But those were like the ring leaders. Senator Scott down in Florida. That blood is on your hands. And Senator Hawley, Missouri. And definitely Ted Cruz and Senator Hawley. What happened Wednesday? The insurrection where you had a U.S. Capitol police officer die and 4 other people. All that blood is on your hands. Yes, it is. And the law of karma is real. Because there's going to be a new Justice Department in 12 days. And there are going to be people that's going to hold you accountable. Locally, you got the district attorney right there in the city of Washington, D.C., right there in the district. You don't think there are going to be some local charges? Oh, yeah. Inciting a riot? Those are local charges. Those who incited a riot within the city limits of Washington, D.C. Those are local charges that can be brought against all those names. Senator Cruz, Senator Hawley, 45, your son, little Donnie Dumbass Jr., Ivanka, your son-in-law, Rudy Giuliani, all the ones that we're talking about. Well, we need Rudy. What did Rudy Giuliani say? Well, now the courts didn't work with us. I'm paraphrasing. So now we need to get combat justice. That was the phrase. We have to get combat. We can engage in combat justice. That is incitement. That is inciting a riot. And on a federal level, that was inciting an insurrection. Though just the act of sedition, just the words that were inciting violence against the government, just the words alone and the conduct and the words to incite violence against the government. The legal term is called sedition. Sedition is a felony that can get you 20 years in jail. So it's been one heck of a week. It really has. So let's see if my bold prediction comes true by Monday. I hope it will. If not, there's already talk. Democrats have already drafted an article to impeach 45 for a second time. As a matter of fact, there are Democrats and some Republicans that are trying to get, like I said, Vice President to invoke the 25th Amendment. But now you're having more and more Republicans that are open to impeachment. Most of the Republicans are just trying to get him to resign. Well, if you all really want him to resign, then take your ass down to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I hear he's pretty lonely. Now, you might want to pull on. I would get a hazmat suit. I wouldn't go anywhere around this dude without wanting what they call those hazmat suits when you're around like hazardous material. You know, the big white suits where you look like you're in outer space, like you're walking on the moon. The big white bulky suits. Balloon, looks like a giant white balloon where you can see, like when they're dealing with Ebola or something like that. You know what I'm talking about, those big white hazmat suits. I wouldn't go anywhere near him without a hazmat suit on. But march your happy behind, just like you told those people to march down to the Capitol. So I encourage all the Republican senators that have engaged and supported this big lie and that have emboldened and used this energy, this sick, demonic, evil energy of white supremacy and white nationalistic ideology, which is an ideology of hate and anti-Semitism, to divide this country. Now, all of a sudden, you're seeing the error of your ways. BS. Don't tell me. Show me. Take your happy behind, march your behind right down to 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza, because it's not Pennsylvania Avenue, 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza. March your butt down to the White House and say, yo, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. Your job is done here because you have done enough damage, and we are not going to let you do. Either you resign or we're going to co-sign with the Democrats. And not only will we impeach you, we will convict you, and we will disqualify you from ever running for any office again. You won't even be able to go to Barron's High School, your son, Barron's High School, and run for student council president. You won't be able to run for no office. And you want to do it the easy way or the hard way. You can hold a news conference and to verbally announce your resignation, or you can just write it out longhand and send it to CNN and MSNBC and Fox and everybody else and let them read it. Because you can't tweet it. You can't put it on Facebook. You can't put it on Instagram. YouTube, I think they done blocked you too. So How do you want to do this? How you want to do it? But you got to go. So, Senator Hawley, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Tim Scott, who's been mute. Boy, you've been mute, like silent. Like somebody hit the button, the mute button, like, ain't heard a peep out of you. All you Republican senators, go get your boy. Because your boy sent his people to come get you. See, it was different. It was different when they were harassing, peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters of all races, black and white, and Asian Americans, and Native Americans, and Hispanic Americans. When they had the riot police and the secret federal police with the camouflage, and they were throwing tear gas and other munitions, weapons, and beating people with billy clubs and shooting them in peaceful protests right there in D.C. and in Louisville, right after Breonna Taylor was murdered, Los Angeles, Chicago, Seattle, Portland. So when you send your secret police, thugs to do that, to violently attack peaceful protesters, Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, you all were good. Yeah, well, you got to be strong. We need law and order in America. So when you hear people say we need law and order, I'm going to translate that for you. When they say we need law and order, that means we need to lock up more black and brown people. Because we don't want you out there protesting against voter suppression and protesting against police brutality and protesting about innocent, unarmed black men and women being shot in the back or shot while they were sleeping in their bedroom, or police officers kicking down a woman's house while she was taking a shower and making her stand in her living room butt naked for a half hour because you raided the wrong house. No, you were cool with that because it wasn't happening to you and people that look like you. But when the chickens came home to roost, Wednesday, when the chickens came home to roost, like I said, you were okay when it came for black people, and when it came for Hispanic people, when it came for Native American people, when it came for the Asian American people, when it came for the Jews. But then Wednesday, when they came for you, folks that looked just like you, some of the people that voted for you, but they felt you were a traitor because you weren't going to go along with the big lie and somehow allow this dude to basically invalidate, which legally he couldn't do it. But you were just going to give him the power to basically destroy a democracy and turn it into a dictatorship. But they came, your people came for you, and it scared the ish out of you. You was like, oh my God, oh Lord. Now you know how black people been feeling for 402 years. It ain't a good feeling when they come for you. And your own police, Capitol Police, didn't even, well, some did. Some did, and one lost his life. But they didn't have enough because your boy didn't give a damn. Mike Pence, he didn't give a damn about you. He put your life at risk. I hear your daughter was somewhere in that area, so he put you and your family at risk. Lindsey Graham, he put your ass at risk. Ted Cruz, he put your life at risk. Senator Josh Hawley, he put you at risk too. He put all of you all at risk. He put your lives at risk. He showed you he didn't give a damn about you all. He didn't. He's never given a damn about nobody but himself. And he now you all got to see especially what we black people and people who lived in New York knew all along. He don't even give a damn about his own children. He is the ultimate narcissist. that only cares about one person, and it's him. And like Maya Angelou said, when a person shows you who they are, believe them the first time they show you that. But you didn't believe it the first time, or the 1,000th time, or the 100,000th time. But after Wednesday, guess what? You believe it now. We'll see what happens. Hope everybody has a good weekend. My guest today was supposed to be a young man named C.J. Matthews. C.J. wasn't able to make it because he had some business with his family. So I apologize, because it's not C.J.'s fault, just has some family business. So we look to have C.J., we will have C.J. on. He's got an incredible story. C.J., as a matter of fact, a very positive story. I think that you'll find it very inspirational. A young man that took personal pain of him and his family and turned his personal pain and his family's personal pain into purpose. Took a tragedy and turned his personal and family's tragedy into triumph to benefit other people, not to benefit himself, actually. And I so admire this young man. Now, full disclosure, he's, in essence, like, he is family. You know, he and his mom and dad and I are literally like family. We've known each other, and we all but legally adopted each other. But he's got an incredible story. His story was all over the network news, CBS Morning News, Gayle King, and the morning news show, they did a story on him. Lester Holt, the NBC Nightly News did a story about his nonprofit organization. And Good Morning America, Robin Roberts and George Stephanopoulos, they did a story about C.J. Matthews out of Atlanta. Blankets or blankies for my buddies. Great story. I'll let him and his family tell you all about it and how this came about. It's a very inspirational story. And considering the times we're living in now, I think we need all the positive stories and stories, examples of compassion, empathy, humanity. And now we have a kid who's 13 years old who's been doing this for at least 5 or 6 years. So he was like 7 years old, 6, 7 when he started this. And he's been doing it all, every year. He's been doing it all these years. Great example of compassion, humanity, empathy, and commitment, which is something that we need so much more of here in America. If we could just have compassion, get back to a sense of compassion and empathy, decency, and humanity. If we could just see the humanity in each other, if we could see that we are humans, because this race shit is bullshit. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I've dedicated episodes of this show to it. This whole concept or construct of race was made up to divide the masses so a few people with power and wealth and influence could control those masses. It was conceived and invented in Europe in the 1600s, in the 1670s, intentionally. And it was exported to America. It began in Europe, and it was exported and remixed in the form of slavery and Jim Crow and segregation. But we are human. When you do a DNA test, the DNA test doesn't say, oh, you are 100% black or white. No. They'll say you have, let's say maybe Nigerian, or Belize, you have DNA from the area of Belize, or from Nigeria, or Ghana, or Egypt, or say Germany, or Italy, or Ireland, or Scotland, or Scandinavia, or from Asia, or India, but it won't say white or black. That was made up, and was made up so people could control you. and manipulate your emotions and distract you so they can control you and deny you power and opportunity to advance and deny you the opportunity to pursue your dreams and to get your share of wealth and power. So they can basically amass as much wealth and power and control you and basically have you to be subservient economically and from a standpoint of education and political power and influence to generate wealth for that small handful of people and to exploit the masses. But you gotta trick them. We can't let them know that we're the enemy, that we're the reason why their kids are going to inferior schools. We can't let them know we're the reason why we're closing hospitals down in their neighborhoods and towns, why we have shut down factories in their neighborhoods and cities and towns and exported these jobs to Southeast Asia and China and Central America. No, we can't let them know that we're the reason why we basically don't allow them to form a union so they can get better wages and better health care. No. So we got to figure out, we got to distract them. We got our hand in their pocket, but we got to make them think that somebody over here has got their hand in their pocket. So we need you to look over here so we can continue to keep our hand in your pocket over here. Like in Chicago, they used to have pickpockets on the bus. They had people working together. Somebody would bump you. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Now, sometimes the person that bumped you would pickpocket you. But the ones that worked in the team, somebody would bump you and you get distracted. And the partner would lift your wallet. Something like that. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life as always. God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Show. Please like, share, and subscribe to my daily variety show right here on my YouTube channel. I would love to have you as a subscriber. I want to thank and shout out all of my new subscribers. And if you would love to be a sponsor, I would be honored and love to have you as a sponsor of my daily variety show. If you like to advertise, I would love to have you advertise, be an advertiser right here on my daily variety show. Leave me a message on my YouTube channel or just email me. I have a Gmail, Geno Jones Show. That's how you spell Geno with an E, Geno Jones Show @gmail.com. Shout out to my hairstylist, Markel Bailey, keeping me tight and right there. Got to holler at my boy, Kelby Cuttin. Check him out on Instagram, KELBECUTTIN, Kelby Cuttin. Bruce Gage keeps my gear right and tight. You can check him out. He's got an Instagram page. As the kids say, man, the drip is amazing. It means his clothes look great for those who may not be quite as hip. Check him out. Just do a search on Instagram. Do a search on Instagram, Bruce Gage, Gage, Bruce Gage. Shout out to my man Bruce Gage up in Chicago. All right, I love you. I really do. Have a great weekend. Please be safe. Listen, guys, if you don't have to go out, stay inside. Wear your mask. If you got to go out, stay away from big crowds. Because today I saw where apparently medical experts believe there is a second more infectious, a variant. That's the medical term they're using, a variant strain, which means there's like an additional strain of COVID-19. Because initially, there was this variant strain that came from the United Kingdom and South Africa it's easier to catch, it's more infectious. Thank the good Lord, it's not more lethal. So apparently, there is a second strand here in the United States that's equally as infectious as the strain from the United Kingdom. So it's more infectious than the original COVID-19 strain. But once again, thank God, according to the medical experts, they say it's not more lethal, it's just more contagious. That's why we got to get these vaccines, guys. That's another conversation. I'll have Dr. Damon Arnold. If you got time, do a binge watch my episodes. About a month ago, he was a guest on my show and basically told you why you should get a vaccine, why you should get vaccinated. And he separated fact from fiction, truth from lies, and reality from rumor in terms of the COVID-19 vaccines, what to believe, because there's a lot out there. And especially Black Americans, especially, have a reason not to trust doctors and science. Trust medicine, trust science. Now, that doesn't mean you trust all doctors and you trust all scientists. That was the problem. Not the science, some of the scientists. Not the medicine, some of those who practice medicine. That's where the problem came in with the vaccine. But Dr. Arnold can explain it better than I can. He did a great job. So make sure you check it out. All right. Once again, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Please be safe. Keep your family safe. Do what you can so we can get through the other side. Okay? We'll be there. But we have to do this together. United we stand, or we will perish divided as fools. Have a great weekend. Till next time. Thanks again.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.